Hello, good morning. My name is Moreira. I'm a medical doctor from Portugal. I've been working in this field that we call integrative functional medicine for about 17 years. I'm very proud to be here and learning so much from all of you and joining our knowledge. This is what I believe that we need as health professionals, all of us. So I like to study history. As mankind, we have had the need to adapt since when we were walking in four members to where we are right now. So we understand the world as in constant evolution. And when we talk about this chronic fatigue syndrome, it didn't exist 100 years ago. And when the Rockefeller family paid a gentleman called Flexner to go around the United States and see the medical curriculum, there was when we made the shift from the medical curricula that we had when we really listened to patients from where we are right now. So this change in the world made appear some diseases like the chronic fatigue syndrome. And this, the definition of it is a multi-systemic complex illness with fatigue, with long-term disability in personal and professional activities. So we know in conventional, let us say like this, that the etiology remains obscure with a hypothetical primary infection followed by dysregulations in immune system, emotional systems, and hormonal neuroendocrine systems. So these are the organs that are affected when we talk about the chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, like the brain, like the heart, the liver, and the bowel. And we are nowadays putting fibromyalgia-like syndromes where long COVID-19 appears, where we know that the patient presents psychiatric and mood disorders, pelvic pain syndromes, neck pain, low back pain, reflux, gastroesophageal reflux disease, irritable bowel syndrome, and of course this also the temporal mandibular disorders, and we understand this as a complex of comorbidities. Also, we know that it affects more women than men, 4 to 1, and we know that around 2.5 million of American people are affected with chronic fatigue syndrome. That's why we are talking about it in this world. So the world as we know it and the evolution where we pass from fire to the lamps, this technological evolution where we live in a kind of a fog, electromagnetic, invisible fog that made us possible all the exams that we use as medical professionals, all the computers, all the cell phones. I don't know if sometimes you stop to think, but 50 years ago we didn't have internet, and our fathers survived to that. So we have planes, we have refrigerators, we have ovens, but we didn't had these things 100 years ago. We also put ourselves in fastest horses that we call cars. And of course, we have this G revolution where now we are heading to 6G, and really, I believe that this is a major factor of disease to us all, although we don't see it and sometimes we don't think of it, because of this invisible exposure that we are. So, of course, this evolution made us brought these large benefits to human health, especially our increase of the average life expectancy. Portugal and Spain are, and of course Germany, I forgot that we are in Germany, we now live 81 to 82 years old. Of course, we talk about also that we have genetics to go to 120 years old, but I think that we fuck up ourselves. So what happens is that we didn't realize that this pollution is making us die of it. We think 20 years ago, the deaths attributed to pollution have made augmentation of 54%. What about deforestation that is responsible for the global warming and the climate changes? Last year was the 6th hottest year that we have record of. And of course, this scientific evolution and technological evolution make us eliminate this electronic waste that is responsible for the release of mercury, of lead, of barium, and of lithium that affects the subterraneous waters and that we are going to drink after. Water has pesticides, water has microplastics, and water has arsenic, and we don't talk about it, and this is responsible for our diseases. Of course, the pesticides that make the food as a poor nutritional quality, and all of this less contact with nature, the fact that we are in buildings with no sunlight, the fact that we, after COVID, have less isolation. That's why this is so important that we get together again. Of course, the new viruses that appear make that although that we have average life expectancy of 80 years, we have now more chronic diseases. So we have heart disease, we have cancer, we have lung disease, and we have neurodegenerative disease. So 1 in each 5 Americans has autoimmune disease. Every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack. And also, of course, you know that cancer is the second leading cause of death in the world. And why is this happening? We have talked about some of these these today that we are here. We know that the oxygen reactive species, this oxidative stress, also this silent chronic inflammation, and of course these mitochondrial abnormalities make us decline in a functional way, take us to a bad aging, because we know, of course, that aging is something that we go through. And if we don't age, it means that we have died. So it's good to age. What is not good is to age in badly manners. Also, this is responsible for what we call this chronic degenerative disease, where we put the chronic fatigue syndrome and the fibromyalgia. So these 3 things that we have talked to these days, I'm going to just give a quick how do you say, make a quick talk. I love this slide. I talk about it a lot. This has about 5 years. So these chronic infections that we have since we are childhood and that we treat with antibiotics, the physical inactivity, we were made to move ourselves and we are seated all day, the obesity and the weight excess that we gain, the intestinal dysbiosis is a very important health problem, the inflammatory diet that we have, also this chronic stress that we don't realize that we are in, that make us disturb our sleep, and also, like we talked yesterday, this fog, electromagnetic fog that affect us, especially the pineal gland, the doesn't make us to deep our sleep, and of course the xenobiotics. This conquer to the silent chronic inflammation that is responsible for a lot of chronic disease. So non-resolving inflammation is a major cause of disease. This was the first article talking about it as about 13 years. And this low-grade inflammation, in fact, what it does is a breakdown in our immune tolerance that takes us to be ill. These are all the diseases related to chronic inflammation, especially the chronic fatigue syndrome and the fibromyalgia, and the oxidative stress that we talk about. That's why one of the things that ozone is very important to us. And so this make this organelle dysfunction that will take us through a different way to chronic diseases, and a lot of diseases are related to oxidative stress, like you know, but especially what I want to talk about is that cigarette smoking, heavy metal, and air pollution are in fact the epigenetic changes that make us be ill. And then the mitochondrial. There are a lot of diseases related to this mitochondrial dysfunction, especially Alzheimer, especially Parkinson, autism, and the chronic fatigue syndrome. So this is a good example of a mitochondrial abnormality. Okay. So in this context that we live, and this is where functional integrative medicine has a good move and a good way to help people, because we come from a paradigm, a medical paradigm, where we treat signs and symptoms, and we have to make a shift to a medical paradigm where the body has its own regulatory capacities insufficient, whatever reason. And what we do is we bioregulate. And this helps us restore that thing that we call health. So this is not new, because more than 100 years ago, a doctor, Thomas Edison said that the doctor of the future will not give medicine, but will interest his patients in caring for the human body, in diet, and in causes and prevention of diseases. And then we studied this in medical school, and then we forgot. Yes, we forgot. I make a stop here to breathe. My daughter is in medical school, and she entered in COVID. So in September 2020, she got into the first year of medical school, and of course they didn't allow them to go to the college, so they had to have Zoom classes. And one day I was climbing up the stairs, and I listened on our computer, "We don't treat diseases, we treat patients." And I say, "Oh my God, I had my degree 20 years ago, and we kept saying the same things to our young doctors. But then, just on the first year, because we forgot, then we have protocols, and that's why we are trying to disruptive things like the ozone and what I'm going to talk about. So we have all these factors that influence our health, as the nutrition, as of course the microbiota, like we talk, heavy metals, the radiation. But most important, we have to make the patient understand that he's responsible for his health. So he's able to be part of the health process. Because when we talk about integrative medicine, we talk about well-being and health, but opposite of bringing the disease to the focus of what we do. So we have to put the physical, the emotion, and the mental body into understand what we say the complex cure. So healing is more than absence of disease, is restoring this that we call well-being and feeling okay and having good emotion relationships and waking up on your own, motivated to go to work and to kiss your wife or your husband and to have libido and make love before you wake up while sleeping. I don't know. A good health definition. But so, so the medicine of the future make us incorporate these characteristics, physical, emotional, and mental. This is what we call the psycho neuroimmune model. It's very important because the stress is a factor important in what we call the chronic fatigue syndrome, like we talked. So good that we talk to people, right? So good that we can really look to our patient eyes and to connect to his eyes or her eyes and to see the suffering that they had. Because these chronic fatigue syndrome patients, like the long COVID patients, like the hypersensitive electromagnetic syndrome patients, they say they are, and if we pay attention to them, we see that they are chronically ill, and it's not a mental deficit, is a body illness. Okay, so we pay attention and then we do this P4 medicine, where in fact we change from a reactive medicine to a proactive preventive medicine, where we in fact are able to do this kind of lifespan health management, and we do change our patient lives. So there's where we call dysesoma. So we come from health status, although, another parenthesis, I don't know if you are paying attention, but our children are born ill. The babies are not okay. The children are not okay. So I don't see many healthy babies. But, well, supposedly we were healthy and we got this multi-morbidity where we have this dysesoma, where ozone and other techniques of integrative medicine act because we have this network. We are a network, and the disease is a network. And when we see this as a network, that's why ozone acts in many ways, not just one way. So this thinking makes us change the fact that we can be in good conditions at 80s and not having, how do you say, age diseases. This is the changing that we need to do. So this changing in the behavior, I love this article. This is a 2022 article for those who say that we here don't show articles and don't have rules. This shows that the anti-inflammatory diet, the caloric restriction, the physical exercise, the fact that we take antioxidants and bioflavonoids, the fact that we can diminish the pollution, and the fact that we can sleep better really make us prevent diseases. Preventing diseases is taking care of our exposome. Okay, sorry. So preventing diseases is we pay attention to our exposome, that is the sum of everything since we were born, since, in fact, before our fathers meet for you know what. Because what they have in that moment passes through us and can give us a more pro-inflammatory phenotype or a more anti-inflammatory phenotype. So we, when we are born, if we study our parents, we could know that if we are going to have more diseases or less diseases. So that's why it's very important to act before conception. So to talk about the chronic fatigue syndrome, we do understand it's a complex illness, and we know that the etiology is chronic infections. Sometimes there are silent chronic infections. We know that it changes the gut-brain axis, this important relation between the gut and the brain, also because the microbiota, and this takes us to an autoimmunity status that make us be healed. So when we put this in our head, is more easy to treat chronic fatigue syndrome. That there are some articles showing virus and the onset of the chronic fatigue syndrome, and to make a resume, these environmental changes, the stress make us this immune dysfunction, neurological dysfunction, metabolic dysfunction that make us be so tired, that make our cognition worse, make us not to be foggy, mentally foggy, make us not to do exercise, to be depressed, to be sad, to don't have energy, to have a lot of food intolerances. This is what we call the chronic fatigue syndrome. And there is a big connection between the pandemic coronavirus that put us away in these chronic diseases, and like I told you, now the new novelty is that they are connecting the chronic fatigue syndrome with the post-long COVID syndrome. Also, we need to be to remember that heavy metals have big importance in the chronic fatigue syndrome, especially mercury. This chronic mercury exposure associated, of course, with the teeth, associated with the fish consumption and the water consumption. Also, some nutrient deficiency like vitamin C, vitamin B, magnesium can be important to the chronic fatigue syndrome symptoms, and we know that the diagnosis of this disease is difficult because there is no diagnostic laboratory test that put us in track of this disease. Also, this is very important to us because the standard medical care like antidepressives, corticoids, immune therapy have a lot of side effects and really are not so effective in treating these patients. That's why this is the ideal patients for an integrative medical doctor. So owing to the fact that the failure of these orthodox therapies, they put, this is not simply a psychological condition. That's where the complementary medicine has a good proof to these patients. So we can give magnesium, we can give L-carnitine. These are non-pharmacological supplements. Also, the oxygen ozone autohemotherapy as a promising treatment to chronic fatigue syndrome. This is a scientific article that you can consult, because the patients treated with ozone, with diagnosis of chronic fatigue syndrome, like those with long COVID, really experience rapid relief of their symptoms. It's like putting charge in the patients. So they can correct the hypoxia, the immune dysregulation, and of course, the chronic oxidative stress. And okay, so this part is where I'm going to be quicker because we have heard this of these 2 days. We know the NRF2 is very important. You can consult this article. This is very important for me in a clinical what is we see with the patients. We don't do protocols, right? We see patients. That this is very important because we have to treat these patients for long months. to say years. These patients really improve, but we cannot say bye-bye, see you in our next life, because it's not possible, because it's so complex and there's a lot of etiological factors that we need time to treat them all. So thinking of all of these, we have to do diagnosis in a network also way. So I'm going to show you now what we do in the clinic. We ask for analytical blood tests. We also ask the heavy metal test. We also order digital X-ray teeth and CD scan of the teeth. We also measure the pro-oxidant status and the antioxidant status, also some vitamin levels and the immune phenotype lymphocyte blood tests. So we have to explain our patients that the treatment is a multi-level network and is not possible to give one antioxidant or one treatment to these patients. We have to explain everything of this. We have to explain our patient that he has to sleep better, that he has to manage the stress of his life, and of course, that he has to do workout, that he has to treat the diet, everything that we all should do if we don't want to get chronic fatigue syndrome. So this is what we say to home. So the diet is very important, some oral supplementation, the mindfulness techniques, and the rhythm of sleeping and meditate, and of course, the sun. The sun is very important. We lose the sunlight because we are in the buildings. And this is what we do in the clinic. We do IV laser. We do this rectal ozone with hydrocolon therapy, the hyperbaric ozone, the apharesis therapeutic when the patient has heavy metals, and of course the biological dentistry to see the interference fields, or if he has amalgama or nickel, like we talked yesterday. So this is the IV laser. I like to do it before ozone. I always think he's opening the doors to ozone, the light come in. I am very fan of the hydrocolon therapy because our bowel is a bag of shit. So sorry, there's no way to say it. The most incredible thing I heard of a patient when did the first session of hydrocolon was, "Doctor, I think that the banana I eat when I was 5 just got off today." Okay, so this is the security is very important. We have this device in the clinic, and after we do the cleansing of the device. And I brought you here an article that shows that really the rectal insufflation of ozone is important in the fibromyalgia. We do the rectal ozone insufflation after the hydrocolon therapy, especially when we find that the intestinal dysbiosis of the patient is grade 4. Okay, not always we do it, but we can do it on the same time. And very important, I don't know if you do it, we implant probiotics in the 4th session of hydrocolon therapy. At the 4th session, we implant probiotics in the patient. So there are a lot of articles that you are going to have access to, showing the rectal ozone and the chronic fatigue syndrome. I was supposed to talk about ozone, but after being 2 days here and listening to the popes of ozone, what can I say? So I just searched for some scientific articles showing why it's so important, the hyperbaric ozone in the fibromyalgia, because it's a safe and effective therapeutic with low side effects. Okay, this is very important to us. Then these therapeutical aphoresis, especially when we have heavy metal, or if the patient has another autoimmune diseases, because in fact what this machine does is that it takes off the blood, the plasma, the blood, the immune complexes, and doesn't need our kidney and our liver to do it. So heavy metal, pesticides, immune complexes are being separated in a nanomembrane filter where the blood goes. The other thing that we do, and we had a magnificent talk yesterday, is the biological dentistry, the chronic mercury exposure from several sources, including the amalgam fillings, is associated with chronic fatigue syndrome. This is a fact. And although our medical colleagues doesn't do it, we should open the mouth to all of our patients. That's what I believe, and that's why in December we are doing integrative dentistry congress at the same time of integrative congress in Oporto, that you are all invited. And I can say that it's for free. I mean, I'm the president, so I can invite you all. Say I invite. I'm pretty your friend. Okay. Yeah, room for 700. So until we have room, you can fit in. So we do the safe mercury removal of amalgam. This is very important. So, my dear friends, I don't know if I have time. I can keep on talking. It doesn't say to me for sure. So, lighten your brain connectomas. Lighten your brain connectomas. Start thinking like we do in fact have inside of us, because we inside have these all network connections. And think when you look to a patient like this, like your brain, do these connections so that you can lighten yourself when prescribing the best treatment for your patients. And please don't forget to give them a hug when you say goodbye. Thank you very much. Are you going to give me a hug? Thank you very much.
You have questions? Anybody have a question here?
Anybody there?
So let me ask again. The conference is for free?
Yes.
No.
I mean, I you have to pay, but I just invited them. You can. It really doesn't matter, you know. Because my idea when I started doing these medical integrative conferences, first I put them in English because you don't know Portuguese, and almost not so many people in the world know Portuguese, so the conferences are in English so that we can allow international congresses to come. And the second important thing is that this is not for give money. My idea is that we need to spread this functional integrative health ideas to more and more colleagues. And that will bring the payback on someday, I hope.
It will bring the payback to your karma.
Well, you know, I want
Somebody has to pay the hotel. Somebody has to pay.
Well, do you want? So are you asking me how I do it?
You want some donation?
I'm going, no. first, let me tell you that last year we had 49 sponsors in the conference. So the sponsors pay the conference. So I don't need, of course, there are people that pay the conference, some medical doctors. Most of them come invited by the sponsors. So that's why I can invite them. I can do that.
So are you open for some more sponsors?
Yes, we still are I
I
think we
think
have,
you 4 more.
okay. You say?
All right, so everybody who has a good sponsor on the hand, talk to her.
Yeah.
I think that is a wonderful idea, and Portugal is a beautiful city. Beautiful, I can only recommend.
The website for the conference is ecin.pt, International Congress in Integrative Medicine. ecin.pt from Portugal.
And it will start on Friday morning.
Friday, 1st of December and Saturday, 2nd of December. It's a good building in Oporto. We can see the river and then we can have dinner.
So we can stay and.
Yeah, you can fly on Thursday and you'll be back on Sunday to your house.
So you all set? Take your calendars and fix it.
And well, there is a prize of 5,000 euros for the best scientific abstract. Yeah, wow.
See.
So you can
Get
write to
going.
me, you
Get
can
going.
write to me and send the article and we are glad to submit it. Thank you.
Very nice.
Okay,
It was a
thank you,
pleasure
thank you.
to have you here with us.